Alright guys, welcome back. Let's get right into it. Alright, so it's the year 1136, winter, the trial of the 50. You have lived another year in the capital. Eterna has been shaken by what is known as the trial of the 50. 50 people stand trial at once, all prominent members of several political circles. They are accused of treason and conspiracy against the crown. The accused spoke in favor of reducing the power of the nobles, granting more rights to the common estate. There was no mention of rebellion, yet those words alone were enough to indict them. Every session of the trial is open to the public. It is a show of power made to discourage people from forming such circles ever again. You attend one of these sessions. The 50 face their verdict: forced labor in the mines of Magra and Illyria for regular members, and true death for the leaders, 6 men and 1 woman. The public execution takes place in the central square of Eterna. You remember the woman. Her name was Eni Sirin. She made a speech before her execution, a young woman, not too tall, her face almost plain, with long bangs over her eyes. She looks calm, even at this moment. You cannot believe she is about to leave this world forever. Eni Sirin takes a look around before she speaks. Her voice is quiet, but you are close enough to hear every single word. She says she is happy to give her lives, fighting for the rights of the people. Her cause will never die. Annie claims others like her will continue their work in hiding, for their cause is right and just. She is dragged away to the others. They put a sack over her head and tighten a noose around her neck. A hand yanks on the lever, and the 7 dangle in the air. Their feet tremble at first, then grow still. There are gasps and cries of discontent in the crowd. Before the march. The ranks of the Lotless are growing steadily now. It's getting harder and harder to breathe in your makeshift meeting hall. People are coming from all across Eterna. Most of them are commoners, laborers, craftsmen, eager students, and all of them feel that the social order based on the lots is out of date. They are always discussing this, both at the major meetings and one-on-one. How can you change society without taking up arms? How can you defend those who suffer at the nobles' hands? You write several articles for a newspaper that is sympathetic to your cause. You cover the pages of the Imperial Sunrise with your freedom-loving ideas. Before your words reach the printed page, you let Sophia read them. I like your articles. They really sting. They burn with genuine fervor and true audacity. And most importantly, you've been calling for action more and more. Our cause is just, and I know it well. But your words light a fire in men's hearts. They bring hope for change. I'd never be able to do this without you, Brante. Thank you. It's time for another meeting of Lotless. Althea calms the crowd before she begins. My friends, it's time for us to act. We are strong, we are united, we are many. Our cause is just. Her words are met with cries of support, and your voice joins them. Sophia smiles, but there is still a hard, controlled edge in her eye. 1 month from now, the Empire will hold the ritual of purification in St. Ignatius Square. Mages and witches who refuse to repent and wear collars will be murdered in a public execution. The church is preparing carefully for this. But these witches never asked for this. They were branded at birth. Our lot is to suffer, but theirs is something far worse. The Inquisition's collar takes away everything: your family, your estate, your free will. A mage becomes a weapon for the Inquisition. They are stripped of their lot and placed in this world. Mages are the true Lotless. A witch's collar is the worst prison of all. We must set them free. Their freedom will mark the beginning of freedom for the entire Empire. Cries of approval died down, replaced by a growing murmur of confusion. Nobody in the room wants to openly defy the Inquisition. Sophia raises her hand, her eyes glinting in the reflecting golden candlelight. The room falls silent. We are not going to wage war against the Inquisition. we are going to do is hold a march to support the mages. This will be our statement. We will seek the support of Patriarch Junius Diamond. He says that those who wield magic have the same rights as anyone else in the Empire. He seeks to give mages the freedom to find their own way to the twins. We are going to show the Patriarch that we have heard his words and are ready to openly heed his call. I am a mage myself. He took off my collar and allowed me to choose my own path. I am going to give every mage and witch the same chance. Nobody ever chose to be born with magic, but mages have the right to choose to abandon their power and follow the twins. Our cause is just. Sophia let the others speak their mind. Some fully support the march, others hesitate, unsure of what to do. There is also a small group of people who reject the idea outright. Magic is evil, they say. Witches are dangerous. Supporting witches means defying the twins. Sophia leans over them. Angry sparks dance in her eyes. I am a witch, and yet you follow me. You chose to trust me. There's no time left for doubt. If you are not ready to walk this road, it would be best for you to leave the Lotless right away. Several people leave the hall, some of them ashamed, others grim. They all get a parting message from Sophia. Her cry rings through the basement and out onto the street. You will tell them nothing. Everyone else grows quiet. From this is the first time anyone has seen the leader of the Lotless shout like that. Sophia drops back into her chair and asks everyone else except for you and 3 others to leave. You know these 3 Lotless. Sophia uses them for special assignments. You get ready to hear what she has to say. The goal of our march is to get Junius Diamond's attention. We need his patronage. It is essential that he hear about us and support our movement. Without his aid and influence, our fight is doomed. With that, Sophia starts giving orders. She sends a young man to get collars, tells a lively girl to gather people and prepare banners, and instructs a lean Legion soldier to plan out the shortest route and the best location to begin the march. Then Sophia dismisses them. It is only the 2 of you now. The basement room you use as a meeting hall grows empty and quiet. You finally notice how tiny and exhausted Sophia looks. Dark rings encircle her eyes, and her skin is gray as parchment. She works so hard for your sake. After a moment of quiet, Sophia speaks to you about the Imperial Legion. I don't want to scare the others too soon, but I think you know what I'm going to say. If they have trained legionnaires guarding the square instead of prefecture gendarmes, the soldiers won't stand on ceremony. Some people might die during the march. You spend half of the night planning escape routes in case you have to run for your lives. At the time the plan is finally ready, both of you are on the verge of nodding off. There is one more thing Sophia wants to discuss, however. Many people have joined the Lotless over the past few weeks, but we still don't have enough members. We need to attract other people on the streets in order to make our march stronger. People need to see that we aren't just misfits. Sophia has 2 ideas for attracting more people to the march, but you only have enough time to implement one of them. You could call upon the commoners who support the doctrine of Patriarch Photis to join the march. Plenty of people in Eterna had to suffer at the hands of the Inquisition back when the new faith first emerged. Those who reject the lots were treated like heretics and punished accordingly. Alternatively, you could seek support from the clergy and the nobles. Even among them, many have friends and relatives who have suffered at the hands of the Inquisition. Sophia looks up from her papers. The circle around her eyes are even darker now. She is barely reacting to the world around her. She is but a shadow of the confident young leader of the Lotless you saw speak at the meeting. She lights her pipe and throws herself back into her chair, her eyes half-lidded, looking utterly exhausted. It seems this decision is yours. Alright, 3 choices. Mobilize the commoners. You agreed to mobilize the lowborn estate for the march. Mobilize the clergy and the nobility. You decide to mobilize the nobles and priests who have suffered at the hands of the Inquisition. Show Sophia your support. You put work aside in order to help Sophia regain her strength. I think this one will give us more relationships, and my relationship with Sophia really sucks right now. So that is what I'm going to do. Sophia smokes her pipe sending rings of smoke flying through the air, thinking. You look around, notice a half-empty bottle of wine, likely left behind by one of the Lotless. It doesn't take too long to find somewhat clean mug and pour some wine in it for Sophia. Then you find another and pour some for yourself. Sophia glances at the mug of wine on the table, then at you. A little smile appears on her face, almost imperceptibly. For one brief second, she is the same girl from Zanti you used to know, with the sun shining in her eyes, but her smile almost immediately gives way to grief. She takes a sip of the wine and winces. You try yours, this wine has gone sour. Thanks, that was very thoughtful of you. I'm glad you're here. Every day I realize more and more that I made the right choice. I'd never be able to do this without you. She takes another sip, looking more and more relaxed now. You say you are also happy to be one of the Lotless. Going against your parents' wishes to find your own way was the right decision. Sophia lets herself assume a slightly more comfortable pose in the chair and smile a little bit more. You could have been whatever you wanted. You chose to join us. That's brave, if I do say so. We'd be enemies right now if you had followed in your father's footsteps. Your face grows grim. Those who take by force and oppress and extort us should never rule. We shouldn't be the ones suffering because of them. It's all wrong. You know, I still have nightmares about it. Sophia's voice trails off suddenly, and you understand what she is talking about. The day when she is trampled, the memory of that moment is a blur, a mess, the street shaking under the thundering hooves, screams and cries, dogs barking, and the arrogant Arcanian barking orders, sparks of gold. You look away, burning with guilt. Sophia laughs ever so quietly. Don't blame yourself for that. It's the law, not you. Sophia leans in closer, so close you can smell tobacco and wine. Her face is so near, your lips are right by your ear, and we have to change it. She leans back and downs her wine. It's late. Go get yourself some sleep. I'll finish this on my own. The two of you go outside and say goodnight and watch her walk away, wondering if she's really as strong as she looks, or just really good at playing the part. Year 1136, summer. The Feast of the Air. The capital is preparing for a great celebration, the coming of age of Jerian Tempest, heir to the throne. Jerian Tempest, heir to the throne. Ribbons and flags flutter in the wind, the streets are scrubbed clean, and the scent of flowers fill the air. You two set some time aside to join the celebration. It is not often that you can see the ruling family of the empire firsthand. The celebration day comes, and Eterna is abuzz. A festive procession starts in the streets. Students from the college and cadets from the military academy march in front, lined up in columns, and other citizens follow suit. You join the parade around the tail of the procession. Before long, it reaches the square in front of the emperor's palace. The ruling dynasty of Tempests observe the parade from the palace balcony. They are joined by the emperor's highest dignitaries and province overseers. For the first time in your life, you see Emperor Uther II with your own eyes. There, high up above, the columns of college students and academy cadets come to a halt at the balcony and salute the emperor with their mottos. The emperor raises his hand in a gesture of benevolent greeting. Then his voice echoes across the square. You can hear him easily, even from so far away. I accept your gratitude, my loyal subjects. Take pride as you wield your knowledge and valor in the service of the empire. All who are worthy will be ennobled by the mantle by my grace. The nobles to be cheer the emperor's words. But then Archduke Monroe steps onto the balcony, and their jubilance gives way to murmurs of discontent. Everyone here remembers all too well how the rulers of Monrovia tried to shut down the college by force. Still, the Archduke is the de facto leader of the Arcanian gentry. He is a force to be reckoned with, even for the Emperor. Hail your Emperor, common folk, ye forever obedient and grateful for the good graces you do not deserve by birth. But then everyone grows silent. A young, slender Arcanian with a sly smile comes forth. There are whispers in the crowd. That's Prince Gerion, heir to the throne, student of Cornelius, promise and hope of the common estate. To the left of Gerion is his younger brother, Flavius. He is baffled at the sight of the parade below, too young to process what he is seeing. Gerion Tempest says, "May the twins be kind to you, my future subjects. I promise to repay you in kind and help you prosper in your loyal service to the Empire." Exalted by these words, the nobles-to-be roar, "All hail Prince Gerion." Another figure steps into view next to the heir. He is Arcanian, elegantly dressed, and his mantle bears the Tempest colors. He raises his arms, about to make a speech. Gaius Tempest says, "Long live Prince Gerion. Students of the college, cadets of the academy, time and again you have proven yourself to the Empire by word and deed. Today is a day of great celebration, and in honor of Prince Gerion, you must ask the Emperor to guarantee forever the right of distinguished common folk to be ennobled by the mantle. So ask now." The cadets and the students freeze in hesitation. They exchange glances, unsure of whether to follow the words of the Emperor's own brother. On the balcony high above, Prince Gerion also remains still, listening to every reaction from the crowd. Archduke Monroe briskly steps onto view once more. He takes several seconds to observe the crowd before he speaks. Imperial subjects, what the Emperor's brother wishes to say is that you must always remember that you owe your status to the Tempest dynasty. The Emperor accepts your gratitude and sends you off with this blessing. You may leave now. Emotion and murmurs spread over the crowd as some of the nobles-to-be refuse to follow Archduke Monroe's orders. There are shouts heard here and there. The law, we ask for the law. The academy officers and teachers of the college urge them to fall in line and resume the parade. The tension is rising. The crowd slowly grows enraged and unruly. An Imperial Guard cavalry regiment emerges from the palace. They start slowly advancing on the crowd, hands on their swords, pushing people out of the way. The commoners are now running left and right. You two have to move away. This quickly quells the commotion in the square. The cavalry withdraws. Emperor Uther II appears on the balcony again. Archduke Monroe stands by his side. The square falls silent at the sight of the sovereign. My subjects, I can see how overjoyed you are for Prince Gerion, but your show of reverence and gratitude was clear enough. Now obey my will and continue the parade and sing the praises of the Tempest dynasty that has given you so much. The square obediently lines up in columns once again. The bout of defiance is in the past now, and they resume the festive parade through the city streets. Glory to Emperor Uther. Glory to Prince Gerion. Year 1136. Summer. Letters from home. There are days when you receive letters from home. Father's writing is very reserved. He mostly discusses events and work in Magura and writes very little about the family. It makes me proud that I have managed to teach Stefan how to handle our affairs at home. Your older brother behaves impeccably at social balls and receptions that we host. He has already made several crucial acquaintances. But Gloria has a different opinion of Stefan. She thinks your older brother is taking more and more after grandfather. Stefan is a lot like grandfather. It's in his manners, his posture, his voice. He even dresses like him. He used to be aloof with me, and we barely talked in the past, but now he always blames me and tears me apart. I can't take it anymore. He walks all over me all the time and treats me like a housemate. Mother writes to you. From her letters, you learn that Nathan just barely managed to graduate from school. It makes me sad to admit that Nathan has none of the talent you had. The other day, he told me he won't even try to study in the capital. He says he won't be able to pass the exams. I find solace only in the nights Nathan and I spend together reading the scriptures or our walks to the church by the silver tree. He accompanies me every time. Your sister and your younger brother write about Mother too. They say the same thing about her health. She now spends more time locked away in her chambers to brood. Gloria does her best to accompany Mother when she leaves home. Nathan's letters mention her steps echoing in the halls in the middle of the night. There's one more thing Nathan mentions in his letters. Stephen and Gloria have been fighting very often these days. Nathan Brante says, Stephen always tries to get under Gloria's skin, and she answers him in kind. Then, Stephen calls her a lowly commoner to make her shut up. You always tremble in excitement each time you see a new letter with the seal of your home province. Your fate is still bound tightly to your families, no matter the distance between you. March of the Callers. This is the morning you have been preparing for. One of the houses in the downtown Eterna is packed with a crowd of people. Everybody put collars on their neck. There are not enough for everybody, so the rest of them cover their necks with scarves and belts and anything else that looks dark against the skin. There are so many faces, even faces you have never seen before. People of all estates have come here today. You flow out onto the street. People keep coming to join the crowd even at the start. People keep coming to join the crowd even as you start walking. There are shouts in the crowd. Our cause is just. These words fill you with confidence, help you remain composed. Everyone is smiling. You march in the front row. The feeling is indescribable. Change is coming. You see people in collars tied to the wooden stakes, with inquisitors busy around them. The fiery execution is about to begin. Your path is blocked. Imperial Legion soldiers stand guard on all streets leading to the square. The crowd keeps pushing. There are cries on the street now. Mages and witches are children of the gods. Give the witches back their lives. Down with the shackles of the Lots. The legionnaire yells over the mob and orders you to stand aside while they draw their swords, and then you hear a scream right next to you. We've got them outnumbered. We're going through them, Sophia calls out. Her voice rings in your head, fills you with fury and faith and victory, and you run right straight at the legionnaire's sharp sword. But suddenly a hand catches you, pulls you back. You see Sophia now, her eyes burning with golden light. The ecstatic, furious mob flows around her and toward the unnerved legionnaire. Sophia's face looks inhuman now, her grin predatory. The legionnaire swings her sword. He's looking up the street. His fellow soldiers guarding the square lock their shields together and draw their swords. There is a look of bewilderment in the Inquisitor's eyes. It seems none of them expected such frenzy. Sophia leads the attack. Set these sufferers free. Junius Diamond is on our side. The twins are our shield. Any idea of a peaceful march is now thrown to the wind. Sophia is about to send the Lotless against the line of legionnaires. Only moments are left until they strike. You have to be there in the front lines. Or will you try to stop her and avoid further bloodshed if there is still time? Will you try to execute the plan yourself and free the captives from the funeral pyres on your own? So you can begin the assault, you can repeat Sophia's cry and set the plan in motion. You can hold Sophia back. You do your best to prevent this senseless loss of life. That's only if Sophia trusts you, and she is merciless and doesn't trust you. Free the captives, mages on your own. We don't have enough scheming for this, unfortunately. Free. Protect the people. This is how we pay for freedom, our freedom, and their freedom. Other voices start repeating your call, and it becomes a chant, a beating of a living drum. Our cause is just, our cause is just, our cause is just. The mob tramples the legionnaires. You keep pushing relentlessly, even as people start dying at their swords. The shield-bearing ranks break and scatter. The Inquisition is gone. The sky is already filled with smoke as the pyres begin to burn. The screams of mages burning alive fill the square. A woman with golden hair chokes on the smoke before you can save her. You see several people freeing another mage from a burning stake. Horrible burns cover her legs. The square starts smelling of hot fat and seared meat. And all is loud, thunderous hooves and clanging steel is louder. You hear the Legion cavalry advancing to the square. You scream to Sophia, but she can barely hear what you are saying. But when she does, she nods and orders a retreat. There is chaos in the square now, pushing and pulling, sounds of clanging metal. You run away, and through the maze of streets. You do not even bother to look behind you to see if anyone is in pursuit. You run for as long as you can until your foot catches a loose brick on the road, and you almost smash your teeth in. Only then do you stop. It is quiet. You do not recognize this part of Eterna. There is not a soul around you. It is hard to believe that this city can contain both this tranquility and the blood-stained chaos of a few minutes ago. You find a flop house on a nearby street. You rent a dirty cubbyhole of a room. No questions asked. You pay for a few days' stay at once. It's a good thing you kept your money on you today. Then you walk upstairs to the room and collapse onto the bed. A wake of shakedowns and arrests washes over the capital for the next few days. You wait it out in the room. There is no news about the Lotless. It is as though none of it ever happened. You go to St. Ignatius Square only 3 weeks later. The cobblestones are covered with soot, and you see spots of dried blood. In the bushes nearby, you find several broken collars. Our cause is just. Lilith dies a true death. You're unable to save her. Valor increases by 1. March of the Colors. March in defense of the witches ended in chaos and carnage in the streets of Eterna. Year 1137, summer. The Overseer of Magra. 2 major events take place while you are busy living your life. First, Cornelius Tempest is no longer the great chancellor of the empire. He has been ousted and sent back to his province. His replacement is the Archduke of Monia, Agrius Longroad, the same Romu who sought to shut down the college. The most powerful lord in the realm finally convinced the emperor that his brother Cornelius was giving too much freedom to the lowborn. Now the policies of the empire will be reversed. Many feel that the great chancellor will destroy the imperial code of laws and other achievements of Cornelius. There are cautious rumors among people. They say that the great chancellor is going to revoke the right of the common lot to be ennobled by the mantle. Secondly, Magra, your homeland, now has a new overseer, Gaius Tempest, the other brother of Emperor Uther II. Usually, the overseer of a province is its archduke. After all, it makes sense for the province's most powerful noble to impart the emperor's will to the locals. Yet now, this age-old tradition has been broken, and to no one's surprise, Archduke Tranchius Melandius is absolutely furious. Gaius Tempest used to be the main supporter of his brother, former great chancellor Cornelius Tempest. The nobles at the emperor's court say this is a stratagem by the Arcanian gentry who wants Gaius removed from the court affairs along with Cornelius. Either way, Gaius Tempest and Tarquinius Melindus will be at each other's throats over the province. This does not bode well for their future. Only one thing is clear. Magna, your home province, is about to face great changes. The trap springs. Weeks pass, then months, and not a word from the Lotless. You have to resort to odd jobs to survive. How much longer will you have to wait? Your hopes of seeing the Lotless return wane more and more with each passing day. You still recall the loss and bloodshed of St. Ignatius Square with pain. What happened to the others? How many of you managed to get away? And more importantly, what happened to Sophia? More days pass, you hear nothing. You keep returning to the same familiar city streets, glancing at the walls and windows, waiting anxiously for a sign or a familiar face. Then one day, you finally see a sign, a yellow towel hanging outside the window, Meyer's window. That means tonight. You return to the basement. Only a few people are there. You look into their faces. There are fewer of you now. Some of the Lotless could not bring themselves to come, and others died back at the square. Sophia sits at the opposite end of the room, like an actor on a stage, her pipe in her hand. A golden ray of sunset has just reached through the basement window to glint in her hair. People are sitting at the benches or leaning against the wall. You sit where you normally do, in the front row, almost in the middle. There are voices and there are questions. Why did our group stop? Where has Sophia been all this time? What do we do now? Sophia stands up and looks straight at you, a golden light glowing in her eyes. I want to ask you all for one last favor. Please, for your own sake, don't do anything foolish. The golden light in Sophia's eyes come alive. It flies through the hall, enveloping others in a vicious warmth. Her eyelids grow heavy, her mind becomes tangled and slow to react. You can barely stand, and your legs feel like they're made of rubber. People in the front row slump to the floor. There are cries of surprise and confusion from the back row. Then you hear heavy stomping steps. Armed knights clad in black armor enter the basement. The Lotless at the door draw their weapons and are killed instantly. A voice full of steel rings through the room. In the name of Emperor Uther II, you are all under arrest. Your heart is racing, and the rays of sunlight will not release you from the stupor. You can do nothing but watch as your united brotherhood perishes. This feels like a nightmare. Some run for the tiny windows, others get down on their knees and surrender immediately. Others stand or sit still, unsure of what to do. Former unity is shattered. People you used to call friends and allies now kneel in submission, and those who do not kneel are quickly cut down. There are screams and flashes of steel, and then a merciless cry, surrender or face execution. Sophia is no longer glowing. Her eyelids are red. She tries to maintain her composure, but you can see her upper lip trembling. Her eyes meet. She looks away. Sophia? But how? Why? Everything ends as quickly as it began. Most of you are arrested. Many are killed. Everyone bound by Sophia's spell is quickly bound at the wrists and placed against the wall. You know most of you would rather die fighting than you would if you were not bound and gagged by magic. They took your choice away from you. These people are well armed, well trained, but you see no signs on their armor. They are not the Legion, nor the Prefecture, nor the Inquisition. Their worst fear has come true. These are soldiers from the secret chancellery. Your body is bound by magic, so strong you cannot even twitch. You are trapped along with the rest of the Lotless. There is no escape. Your eyes close. You have to muster all your willpower to drive slumber away. Do you have enough willpower to break Sophia's spell, even for a moment? Even if you do, will it even help if you resist? Sophia, resist Sophia. Sophia has betrayed you all. You urge your brothers to resist her. Create a distraction. You break free and distract the secret chancellery in order to give some of the Lotless a chance to escape. Surrender. You accept the inevitable and do not resist arrest. Glad I have willpower. to resist. Out of options, you muster all of your will in an attempt to break free from the binding spell. Your voice cuts through the screams and chaos of the basement. You scream and scream for your fellow Lotless to fight until the end. Sophia is a traitor. One day you will get her, and then she will pay. Your call inspires some of the Lotless to break free from the spell for a few precious moments. They knock down one of the black-clad mercenaries. Another man lunges at Sophia with his bare hands, ready to choke her to death. But one of the men in black armor immediately jumps to protect her and greets unarmed men with his sword. The same bloody fate awaits the others who try to fight. One of the mercenaries slowly walks toward you and kicks you in the gut. You collapse, gasping for air, bound by the spell again. Sophia leans over you, shaking her head slowly and mournfully. What have you done, you fool? I told you not to do anything foolish. This will only get you hurt. Sophia walks away. The knights in black surround you. They tie you up, tightening the knots around your wrists so hard your fingers turn white. They kick you in the gut again for good measure. You are dragged out roughly and thrown into a windowless wagon along with the other Lotless. Soon the wagon shifts, then starts moving. You are being taken somewhere else. Attack on the Lotless. The secret society of the Lotless was struck down by the secret chancellery. Many of the conspirators were captured. That's a twist. I didn't expect Sophia to be a traitor. Recruit. Days are followed by nights. Nights are followed by new days. You can only tell because the light coming in through the tiny window near the ceiling. You have spent several months in this cramped cell. It's 5 steps long, 2 steps wide. These walls felt oppressive during the first weeks, but people can get used to anything eventually. They feed you twice a day. They do not answer any questions. They take away the food if you scream too loudly. You think of your family often. How would they react if they heard you were facing execution for being part of an underground movement? Mother would die from grief. Execution always brings true death. Father's hair would turn white. Glory would cry. Stephen would rage, and Nathan would become even more isolated. Sophia, how could she do such a thing? She said that Lotless were her family. She insisted so much on freeing the innocent mages. She urged you to support Patrius Junius and the new faith. So Sophia said all that, and then she stood there and watched her fellow Lotless get killed and arrested. Their lives lost, years of work undone and destroyed. Driven mad with rage, you punch the stone walls. Blood splatters from your knuckles. It grows dark again. A lock on the door squeaks and the cell opens. They carry you out by the arms, but you no longer resist. You are sick of this. It's no use anymore. They sit you in the interrogation room. There is a man sitting across you, plain, a well-tailored jacket, a pale face with chiseled features, a thick black mustache. Black eyes watching your every move from their deep sockets. When did the secret chancellery first start watching? When did you all become pawns in their game? The nobleman keeps studying you with utter disdain. Even grandfather never looked at you with such scorn. He wears a pendant in the shape of a wheel. His gloved hands rest atop a table with a walking stick leaning against it. Behind him stands Sophia, her head down. Felipe El Ferro. I am Baron Felipe El Ferro, advisor to the secret chancellery. I have a dislike for titles. Call me Sir Felipe. They will suffice. I know everything about you, young Brante. Your father and grandfather are loyal servants of the Empire. Your brother is a noble by birth. Where did your life take such a turn? How did you stoop so low? The advisor to the secret chancellery shakes his head, presenting you with a clearly false smile of sympathy. You feel like a student in front of a strict teacher, but you will not leave this room with a mere flogging. You young people don't even realize what you're doing, openly defying the church and its teachings, openly speaking out against the law, and when Junius Diamond gives you the order, you wreak havoc in the capital, assaulting priests and freeing apostate witches sentenced to execution. Isn't that right, Sophia? Yes, Sir Felipe. It all happened exactly as you said. You shivered with disbelief. There was no order from Junius Diamond. That is not true. It never happened. You looked at Sophia, but she will not look at you. Her eyes are only on Baron Elfaro, and he looks at you with a fatherly smile and a ruthless gaze. You are trapped. Now his words will be the truth, and nobody else will ever believe anything you say. If only I could be like you, young Brante, a mere boy who thinks he can change the Empire all on his own. But I suppose it's a good thing I'm not that naive. Otherwise, I'd be in your shoes right now, and you'd be dealing with someone far worse than me. There are many things in this world that do not sit well with me either, but unlike your youthful rebellion, my goals are quite clear. My wish is to save the Empire, to save it from the likes of you, people who reject tradition and the laws given to us by the gods, fools who seek to set the mages free, practitioners of the new faith that is destroying the church from within, even if their leader is a patriarch and Arcadian from an ancient dynasty. Few know my methods, and that is why they are effective. Thanks to Sophia and this secret society of hers, we have already managed to gather all the dangerous insurgents together and similarly deal with them in one fell swoop. The heretic Junius Diamond is next in line, but that is none of your concern. Let us speak of your fate now. Felipe produces a folder full of notes and puts it on the table in front of you. The folder bears your name. Your hands shake as you flip through the pages. How you infiltrate the college during the siege, how you help recruit more people for the Lotless, articles you wrote for the newspaper, the advice you gave Sophia, your preparations for the March of the Colors. Your life over these past 3 years is laid down on these pages. Just like the records of your presence at the Lotless meetings is enough to sentence you to execution, but that is the least of what you have done over these years. Your stomach churns. Do not expect your father's authority as a judge to save you from this, Brante. He is just a second-generation judge. A brief note from me, and you will face true death, and then your father and the rest of your peculiar little family as well. What say you? Is there any reason I shouldn't do just that? Sir Philippe, He strikes Sophia swiftly and painfully. She doubles over and clutches at her stomach, gasping for breath. Slowly, Felipe returns the walking stick to its previous position. His gaze never leaves you. I don't remember giving you permission to speak, but very well, I grant it now. Speak. Sophia finally catches her breath and leans against the wall. She looks at you for the first time since the interrogation began. Sir Philippe, Brante grew up in Anizuti. Like me, he is very bright and has proven himself to be quite capable since his first days with the Lotless. You will find my description of him in my reports. He will serve your cause and Magara as well. You do not look at Sophia. Her betrayal is the reason you ended up here. But now she is putting herself at risk to save your life. Felipe stares you down, his chin resting on his fist. Proved himself, you say. And how about he prove himself to me as well? There is only one way out of this room. Brante, one leads to the gallows, the other makes you my loyal servant. Thank your childhood friend for this mercy. I will give you one chance and only one to prove that you are useful to the secret society. I'm listening. So I can outwit him. I don't have the manipulation to do it. You convince the advisor that you will serve him well, but ensure that the remaining Lotless will not get caught. You could scheme, prove that you will be useful. You prove to Sir Felipe you understand his plot and have what it takes to put it in motion. Third option is you betray the salvation and service to your new master and name all the Lotless who have managed to remain safe so far. Or you can reject the secret chancellery, choosing true death and dishonor for the Brante family. Well, obviously, I'm going to take care of my family, so there's really no chance for anything. He has succeeded. You have no strength left to fight. The betrayal is the only choice you have left. If you want to live, you have to prove your loyalty. Excellent, Brante. I see you've had enough time to accept your new position, and besides, those people mean nothing to you now. I have high hopes for you. You start talking first names, last names, code names. You mention Arthur Marie, who supported you with money after he was freed, the Sasha's family who welcomed you into their home, and a handful of other names. Sophia is silent and emotionless as you speak, but her lips are pressed tightly. You have a fine memory, Brante. You just might make a good spy after all. And you've already learned your lesson. Serve the man who takes care of you. I have no use for the Lotless now. Soon you will find them all dead with the rest of them. Ragamuffins. Ragamuffins. Color me impressed, but if you disappoint me, so much the worse for you. Now mark my words. From this moment on, you're my secret servant. This is your only lot in life now, as it were. You will obey me and no one else, and do not even think of mentioning the secret chancellery to anyone. You and Sophia will return to Anizanti. Tell everyone you earned a small fortune in the capital or made wealthy friends. You're a slippery young man, just think of something believable, will you? Once you're there, open a print shop, don't waste too much time on it. This job will be your cover to keep you busy in public, keep you looking busy in public. People will pay you visits from time to time and bring you instructions from me. I have big plans for your desert province. My every instruction must be carried out immediately. If you ever fail or try to fool me, your entire family will suffer along with you. Here, this should be enough for the print shop. Now you have something to bring back home. With a chuckle, Felipe drops a hefty pouch at your feet. It falls like a rock and makes the sound that only gold can make. Before you can say anything, he turns around and leaves. Once you are left alone with Sophia, she finally lets her emotions rise to the surface. How could you do such a thing? How could you betray those who were still free after everything I've done to keep them safe? Do you think it was easy to watch my friends being killed? Nobody would have left that room alive if it wasn't for me. Yes, I bound everyone I could with my mass spell, because otherwise they would have died trying to fight back. I hope I could get everyone out of there alive, but I only got you out. Then suddenly Sophia's rage subsides. Her hand comes to rest on your shoulder. I know how you feel right now, but it's all Felipe's fault. He starved you out in prison, and you're only human. And now Felipe is about to eliminate the rest of the Lotless. But we can do nothing to save them now. And as for you and me, Felipe has us on his leash now. We'll have to survive like this. We can't run from him. If I don't do what I'm told, he'll have me collared and sent back to the House of Humility to be an obedient, soulless puppet. But we have each other now. We can do this. Don't lose hope. The jailer enters the room before you can say anything. You are led out of the prison and into the yard. You wince at the light of the sun and the shining pillar. The carriage takes you back to the flop house where you took refuge from the march of the colors. The driver kindly informs you he had orders to take you to Anizanti in 3 days. You start packing. It all feels like a dream. Everything will happen exactly as Felipe said. You have nowhere to run. If you try to flee, they will find you. They will find your family first. In the blessed Arcanian Empire, there is no way to start over with a clean slate. The twins and the secret chancellery see all. Your months in prison are the past, but can you truly call yourself free now? You'll be going home soon. Collapse of the Lotless event has happened. Conditions. The secret society is betrayed. You fail to protect the Lotless. The Empire utterly destroys the secret society. Agent of the secret chancellery. You now serve the secret chancellery. Your life and your fate are in the hands of advisor Felipe Alfaro. Year 1137, winter. Diamant stands trial. Just before you leave the capital, you overhear something unusual on the street. Junius Diamant, Patriarch of Astyria and one of the leaders of the new faith, will stand trial before the church tribunal. The order of the Inquisition has accused Patriarch Junius of patronizing blasphemous witches and disseminating heresy. The Holy Tribunal claims that Junius Diamond was scheming to free all witches and sorcerers from the collars that fetter their accursed powers. And what's worse, the Patriarch was also accused of forming the Lotless, a dangerous secret society based in the imperial capital. Members of the society have been assaulting inquisitors and priests of the church, as well as freeing witches from the cleansing fire and helping them escape the holy law. Now, the Patriarch must face the Holy Tribunal of the Inquisition in Eterna. By all accounts, this is a devastating blow to the new faith and the end of days for Junius Diamond himself. The Inquisition will make the most of this opportunity to rid the land of this unwelcome Patriarch who dares to shake the foundation of the old faith. But then comes the sudden news of Patriarch Junius' reply to the Holy Tribunal. It is no less stunning than the accusation. Patriarch Junius says, "These words are nothing but lies. I will say this to anyone who dares to bring this accusation against me in person. I want those hypocrites to bear the full weight of their responsibility for the slander against me, my flock, and the Tiamat dynasty, and the Holy Order. I agree to stand trial before the Holy Tribunal, but I will face them on my own land and on my own terms." Patriarch Junius has already received strong support from Patriarch Luke and many priests across Parishes of the new faith throughout the empire are now speaking out in support of Junius Diamond. The Church of the Twin Gods is about to be rent in twine. The Inquisition has no choice but to revoke the trial in order to avert the coming schism. Their new official stance is that Patriarch Junius has been wrongfully accused, and the Holy Tribunal will now apply a more cautious judgment during any further trials against the followers of the new faith. Following the teachings of Patriarch Photis is no longer seen as heresy by the Inquisition. The trial of Junius Diamond has been averted, but the divide within the Church is only deepening. The new faith has directly challenged the old faith. The result is uncertain, depending on who you ask. Some say that Junius Diamond all but pled guilty. Others believe that Patriarch and the alleged rebellion against the Church, as well as the Inquisition, is nothing but a ruse. There are also people who think the entire situation sounds like one of the secret sanctuary's dirty deeds. One way or another, the Patriarch of Astinia and co-leader of the new faith remains at his post. But for how long? And how will the old faith and new faith clash next? Okay. A farewell to the capital. Recoleta and Tarina rivers meet outside the city walls. You have barely left the capital since you came here all those years ago. A breeze is blowing in your face, and the bright noon sun hangs above the shining pillar. You stay in Eterna has come to an end. You arrive here a boy full of hopes and aspirations, driven by your father's expectations and a desire to live your life as you saw fit. Where did your youthful ambition lead you in the end? Eterna never became your home to you. It was a place of turmoil and disappointment. You tried to change the course of history, but history broke you in half and threw you away. You were too young and inexperienced. Your entire life was wrecked by a single decision. What future could you possibly have now? All of your hopes are buried here in Eterna, and you must leave the city behind. Your hands clench into fists as you think about it. You will have to live two lives, a public life as the owner of a print shop, and a secret life as a spy for the secret chancellery. This is the only path fate has in store for you now. Mother used to say that humility and hard work are the strength of the common folk. Each new blow brings less pain and teaches you to get back up more quickly. All you have to do is walk this path without showing weakness. But you strayed from the path of humility and graduated from the school of hard knocks. You learned to lie and manipulate others, to survive and hide and act in secret. As a teacher, Sophia had no equal. But what are you supposed to do now? Will you accept your role in the schemes of the Sacred Chancellery, since it means well for the Empire? Will you have what it takes to find another way and use your new position for schemes of your own? Many things must have changed back home. You recall Gloria particularly fondly, the way she used to rebel all the time and defy her lot to write poems. She always fought hard to be herself, no matter what the other people or the law said. Gloria was the only person who supported your decision to find your own path. You want to see her so badly, you tell her all the news and share the joy of your return with her. You have to get her a gift from the capital, something that will matter to your sister while there is still time. You decide to buy her a book she could never find at any time. You start going through the market, you go to 5 bookstores, and you see nothing suitable. One last shop, and then it's time to leave. You promise yourself. The store is marked by an unremarkable sign on an unremarkable building. You enter a dark room full of bookshelves. On one of the shelves, you see a small book bound by leather. The name of the author, Char Melendez, is stamped in gold. You peek inside. How strange. This is not a biography of rebellious Duke and his rebellion. It is not even a study of his legacy. It is a book of his poems. You thumb through the pages and realize that Gloria would enjoy this book very much. The poetry of Char Melendez is about love and struggle and strength of will. The drive to keep fighting even when all hope is lost. The book costs almost nothing. It leaves the bookstore with you. You leave the capital the morning after. The carriage hired by the secret chancellery awaits you at the door. The turn of the city where you spent 4 years slowly disappears on the horizon. Will you ever see the capital again? You do not know. The book, A Gift for Gloria, is in your hands. Homecoming. After 4 years in the capital, you return to your home city of Anizati. Oh wow, this is a depressing turn of events. Alright guys, I think we're going to call it here. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe and leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think of this twist in the road. I hope you guys have a great day and a wonderful week. Catch you guys next time in the next video.